All right, here we go again. Buckle up. All right, so what they've done is what I've been telling you they've been doing all these years. I don't know if it's available to anybody, but hopefully somebody's hearing this can do something. They've hired people on. There's a system of spies. Every country most likely uses it. The only people that don't know is generally the public. You know, some people in the public are it. Some people in the public know about it, but the majority of people don't want to know about it or don't know about it. Right. They hire people shadow, which means they'll take care of your life if you do what they want. Now, CIA has legitimate purpose for that because there's no connection between you and CIA. All there is things that you're looking at online in your feed. Now, they also use that to kill people. So again, megalomania stepped in. You can imagine what Bannon and Tenet would do with that. Right? Tenet's not a good man. Right? Was never a good man. But that's why they named him Metal Lamprey. Right? Because you could do, let's say you did some real work. I know Tenet did real terrorist work. Well, terrorists could exist because of the work he does in deep state. You see how that works? Again, the same thing with the church. I'm not going to the church because I don't want to be sexualized by 14-year-old girls and 14-year-old boys because that's where it's going to go. No, it's a whole progression. CIA changes your mind every day for 10 years if they need to get you to do what they want you to do. Right. So eventually they'll get you to the point where you use your own children to bait a man. So the child will know that they're trying to get a man attracted to them or a woman attracted to them. They can't prosecute these cases. A lot of times it just ends in tragedy. So that's why you see some people getting off the hook. Somebody surmises that it's CIA, a CIA hit job. Well, because somebody like me has fought it and investigated it for not centuries, but maybe centuries in the mind, but for decades. So I know what's going on. I know most likely what happened to Jonathan Nichols. It's rogue operation. So what happens is they use Matt Drudge. There's no doubt that Matt Drudge would be used, and the reason Matt Drudge is successful could be CIA. Period. They asked this guy Matt Drudge to do a few things for him. It looked like they could control him and make him do crime for them and all that stuff, and so they hired him unofficially. How does he get paid? Not directly by them, but they can trigger payment to Matt Drudge. They can, remember I told you they can trigger viral videos and they can trigger videos not to be seen by anybody. And it's not only CIA. Again, every spy in the world uses it. Every spy in the world knows it and knows about it. There's no reason the public doesn't know about it other than they're corrupt and they don't want you to know how they're harming you and harming your children and gooning you and everything else. I guarantee Elon Musk has spies working for him. I guarantee every billionaire knows spies. I bet you, and I guarantee every billionaire made money through spies. And again, some people know it. They just can't say anything because then they lose it. They lose everything. So again, a lot of it, like I said, is spy versus spy. They never trained me anything. I didn't wash out because this is the kind of stuff they'll put in your head. They tried to kill me using tradecraft. So again, killing somebody using tradecraft without using like poison or something like that is more difficult. But they're like into it. Their minds are twisted. They're like a cat playing with, a mouse that's, pause it. That's what they're like. They're animals. They don't keep us free. You can see that, right? They're not keeping your church safe, but that's the CIA operation that they learned to use in your church. But then again, they went rogue with it all. No, they're filthy. Disgusting. So somebody's using, it could be, you have to understand this. Spies here only care that they're wealthy. I mean, there's probably a handful that wish they could do the real work and not be corrupt, but right. So that's all they care. They don't care that they use China to attack a U.S. citizen. They don't care that China attacks a U.S. citizen as long as it's not their U.S. citizen. Right. They don't care if they attack a murderer and a rapist as long as it's not their murderer and rapist. Do you understand how that works? So Matt Drudge right now is illegally using the tradecraft he was instructed in by somebody. Could be official, could be unofficial. So essentially, Matt Drudge is rogue. But because the rogue CIA says, no, that you can't go after Brennan, you can't go after this person, because then that opens, see, spies are absolute. Right? The Russians took over a lot of this years ago. But, you know, Putin probably lost control of some of it, but he don't care. He screwed up our government. Right? So somebody caught Matt Drudge. Matt Drudge can't use that against Trump. He just really can't. It's illegal. But again, I think it's related to that. Trump going after the corrupt spies. Now, the problem with Trump is he and his people, he has to stay out of politics to beat it. Because they have people in Republican circles that are going to lead you in the wrong direction. Or at least mess the operation up to get yourselves in trouble. Thank you, Larry. What does that say? I'm not good at this. What is this? See, you have to look at, and then you have to look at people like this. Right. Well, she can either be a rogue operator. So, okay, so what happens is they create that they even have rogue operators that they have to stop, right? Like this one, because what happens is when they're destroying the victim, like they're destroying me to destroy my mind and to shrink me and make me, you know, have low self-esteem and low self-image. They're doing the reverse to their people because they want their people to actually, like, if they recruit you. Again, there's a lot of CIAs there. There's a lot of contractors and a lot of private sector spies and informers that are part of it. Right. So like this Dem lawmaker may have been recruited, and then she gets such a big head, like an idiot, she goes in and breaks into her mother's house and steals some stuff or something as a burglar. Right. Was she a state senator? Yeah, Minnesota State Senator. Now, okay, but this cues me on something right here. You see, Minnesota State. Don't say you're a Republican and it's okay if our operators are causing this, because it's a scam. It has nothing to do with Republican and Democrat. It has to do with the problems we're having around Republican and Democrat. Right. They're building divisiveness to use it against all of us. So she may have gotten a big head, but they may have also, somebody may have been, so it could actually be even two psyops going at the same woman. But it makes no sense. That's bizarre. Like insane, right? But that's what happens. They'll get a big head and they'll do something they're not supposed to. And they don't, like they lose track of all the people that they hired on. Right. PIs, some of the PIs are actually CIA. But it doesn't mean, it isn't like in the day like Julia Childs, oh, it's CIA. Right. It's a scam. It's horrible. It's where we lost the United States. That's where we lost it. That's where the United States went. Into illegal spycraft and tradecraft missions. So I reverse engineered tradecraft while they were doing me and figured out what they were doing. And you have to stay alive. Matt Drudge is using what he learned in tradecraft influence operations against the administration. And somebody like Brennan and his people could have put him up to it. I know he's not a big Trump supporter. But at this point, once Trump gets into the presidency, there's a requirement to move in a different direction. If you notice, I never said anything really while Trump was in office. But when he got out, I let him have it. Right. His people close in took me out. And there were others. But again, it's people like the Democrats that manipulated him to do it. And again, they're not really Democrats. They're just, they're operators. No, this isn't traditional political operator. This is crown jewel, CIA, killing people. Every spy knows in any international church organization, there's intelligence operators somewhere influencing it, if not inside of it. So I'm not like leaking something. The only people that don't know is the public. And they're the ones that are just, are actually, lambs for the slaughter. Yeah, 100%. Bro, they're not going to let the United States make peace with Putin because they use that to make money, to make a mess, to point at this and point at that, infiltrate something, put themselves in somewhere, or put their person in somewhere. Correctly. No, I told you years ago, and it's still going on. Who do you think is probably affecting my stuff? It involves illegal immigrants. They're part of it too. They get paid also. They're made millionaires if they'll be a crook for intelligence operators. And I'm not saying some legal, legitimate operation. Of course, they'll twist it and make it one. Or seem like it's altruistic. So you have to find these spy masters and, act with extreme prejudice. And you have to stop them. I'm not going to. So what they do to me is when they do this, somebody has to stop. They start projecting this idea where I have to do something. I don't have to do anything. I retired out of the government because CIA broke my life and disabled me over 20 years ago. Because they wanted their itty-bitty nobody people to be huge. When in fact they could have did it while I was there. And I still would have did the work because, a GS-12, what was I? GS-12, step 4 or step 5 or whatever it was. Step 3, I don't even remember. That's good enough pay for me. And that's what makes them angry. Right. I mean, I worked my derriere off on overtime and everything, going on assignments and all that. But I was making $94,000 a year in 2004. That's plenty for me. I could live wonderfully. I mean, like today, it's like about 130,000 or something, like 120,000, maybe around 130,000. I don't care. I don't care. I didn't need them to say, "Oh, you're wonderful. Here's your inspector rank." I didn't need that. But that was their whole. That was the CIA, the rogue CIA operation. Oh, he's going to be an inspector. Ah! Meanwhile, the lowest employee in the office became an inspector. Because why? He participated in the assassinations. When I see an assassination, I go over and help the employee. Now I help Jim working plenty in that office. Whenever he asks me to help for the computer or something, I go over and help. But I didn't write a letter for him because he didn't need it. And he didn't want me writing a letter. Maybe he didn't know that. Because if I write a letter for you, they may actually have attacked you twice as hard. Because what they're trying to do is cause a shift in the mind that anytime you involve Lawrence Moore, that you're going to have an issue. Like people in the church are being attacked. And I go, it's because of Lawrence Moore. It's because of Lawrence Moore. That's why you're being attacked. Get rid of him and it's over. Blame him. Right. That's their psyop. Or one of their psyops. Thank you, Larry. I'm not the only one being attacked in that church, I'm sure of it. Because they want to cover it all over and make it all pretty the way they do it. Okay. March service became part of it. There's no doubt. They're not keeping people safe. Well, we rescue all these people, whether they're getting taken, these kids, because you took the real powerful people out of government that could just stop it with a thought. Right. Yeah, we're real great. We're real great, not just, oh, I'm great because I got money. The CIA gave it to me. For killing Jonathan Nichols. That's who they are. Right. Yeah, they psychologically killed him in the middle. Same thing as John Lennon. Well, okay, let's say there was something about him that required them to do it. They're lying. If he was doing something wrong, let's say he went to 5 prostitutes in 3 months. The CIA could force him not to ever use a prostitute again. And every time he saw one, he'd run the other way. Oh, see, you're going with little kids. He's killing on himself. No, I'm not. It doesn't have to be everything I say, you reverse it and apply it to me. Because I'm talking about you and what you all do. See, that's the scam and another psyop that they use. These same people said I raped my daughters. And I'll be arrested any day now. So what does that do? That's a psyop. Because people will do things against somebody they believe will be incarcerated shortly that they would never do if there was no chance of that. Right. That's a psyop. It's something CIA would use in a combat, potentially lethal situation that they're using against U.S. citizens minding their own businesses and their own little life without a business. Do you see? They're willing it up to say something else. That's why businesses came out. Oh, these are people with money. They have an obligation. That's another one they use. Everything he has, we gave him. Marshal Service didn't even use that. We're paying him in the retirement. I had to go to a senator and fight tooth and nail to get it. And you can see, what would have happened if I didn't get that retirement? 0 money. They would never let me go back to work. Why? Because you're devils, demons, antichrists, witches, and sorcerers, and you do whatever Satan asks you all, which includes felony crime and murder 1. So while you're running around the office and you see all these little battles going on, it's CIA and CIA operators in the office that are manipulating. Has nothing to do with natural government operation. Now, you have to understand, Karen Shelton was CIA. Rick Henry was CIA, no matter what they tell you. Somebody in CIA went rogue and had them kill some employees. And after that, they take care of them. Because what they're doing is protecting their criminal enterprise. Now, don't worry, those two people went around for 25, 35 years on phones to people, destroying me and my family. Along with their buddy, Johnny Hughes. 100%. So they're not allowed to do that. They weren't officially operating. It was already found. Right. In fact, they were told to stay away from my wife. Right. There was that's how the chief handled it. But what they did is, remember I told you there was a movement against the chief. I told Rick Henry because he was, kind of friendly with chief, and so was I. But I said, hey, Rick, they're in the big room talking about taking out the chief. You go tell him. I figured I'd, give him a bone. Maybe he'll relax and stop hunting my life. Again, everybody was tested by God. Right. But what I believe, he took it to chief quick, so that they could continue on trying to take the chief out. And then it included also taking me out, which I didn't know back then. So it was a hostile. Johnny Hughes launched a hostile takeover in the Marshal Service with other people. I don't know who the other people are. Right. It was outside people owning the Marshal Service. That's when the Marshal Service lost complete control of itself. It became a lackey for a CIA rogue. Right. 100% God's honest truth. Every time they called an outside entity and told them to get me, it was a felony crime. Right. It also involved stalking. Remember I told you she stalked Doug Bettman? Right. 10 years later, she walks up to me, my last year in the office, somewhere in there. Actually, no, it was, because it was around, I remember the day it was, because this is how God does it. It was the day they released information that, I think it was an investigative ploy, though. There was some information about the Luna, that they found a turnpike ticket with blood on it, or something like that. So the day they released that, Karen, right before it went on TV, she started telling me about Doug Bettman. 10 years after this guy resigned from the Marshal Service, or I guess they took his badge. I can't remember how it worked. Well, he was using heroin or something like that. Allegedly used heroin. Because once CIA's involved, you don't know what it is. And that's reality. So she's telling me about this guy. I'm like, why is she even talking to me? She's a witch, I don't know I didn't know she was a witch, but she's a witch and she hates me. She's a devil. She's the devil. But it's just how their system works. They just hate people. And hate them into horrible life, if they can. Right. So she did it to Doug Bettman. Right. Tried to do it to Worky. Tried to do it to Burke. She likes Shemp a little bit, I think, for some reason. But I think she did try to take out Shemp. No, these are CIA operators. So she learns she's this nasty, horrible person. So the Russians empower her in the government. CIA rogue empowers her in the government. There are CIA rogue. You know who runs CIA rogue? Who used to run it? I don't know who runs it now. The Russians. It's the quickest way to destroy a government. Create a rogue. There's no doubt. I don't think it's Chinese. The Chinese may have used it, but definitely Russians created the rogue U.S. government. Back in Baltimore, the rogue U.S. government, and again, I'll tell you, they were corrupt as all get out. They were into crimes. The CIA people were probably into crimes there. And the Justice Department, at a certain point, it may have been, I don't remember who prosecuted it, but they prosecuted a case. There was probably 30, 40 cases. But you prosecute one, and then everybody knows, okay, let's stop taking money. And I don't know if they did or didn't. To them, when you prosecute a case for them taking money, then they strategize how to take back over Baltimore, right, using tradecraft. So you can't do that. So again, that's part of the reason they believe they needed to take me out. But it's like a fantasy. They're all psychotic people. I wasn't getting anywhere and wasn't going to get anywhere. But at least, but for me, what angered them, and for me, being a GS12, step whatever I was, they got my microphone off. I don't know at what point they did. So I'm gonna have to look at this. All right, I'll be back in a second. I have to tape the microphone in.